welcome to another episode of Regional Italian Cuisine. My name is Caterina, and today we find ourselves in the home of a wonderful woman called Celeste or Celestina Vigilante here in the eastern suburbs. Ciao Celestina.
Ciao Caterina, grazie, come stai?
Molto bene. You know, this is the great thing about my job. I get to meet all these wonderful people, of course, that hopefully will keep some of their recipes for the next generations to come.
Certainly.
Now, I know you speak a very, very good level of English, don't you?
Not too bad.
Yeah. Now, tell me a little bit, tell our viewers at home where you come from. Is it San Marco? Near San Marco?
I come from San Marco in Lamis, in the Foggia province, in which it's situated in Puglia.
Yes.
Pugliese, I'm a Pugliese.
Una pugliese.
Pugliese. And I come out from Italy, I was 11 years old, this is 54 years ago. Oh, that's telling you my age now, isn't it?
Wow, how good you look. It must be all that good olive oil that's in your diet.
And yes, so I went to school very little, so about 3.5 years, and a little bit at college, and worked my way up and worked all my life.
And let me tell you, all the skill in your hands, because your beautiful husband Pino tells me that he eats like a pugliese, even though he's calabrese. So tell me about your hands, because are these recipes you learned from your mother and father, or are they things that you...
My mother, she was a good cook. Mum, she wasn't bad. And, and I always loved cooking.
Yeah.
So therefore, you get your skills from your parents.
And of course, in the Puglia region, the one thing that I do know, they have a huge production in durum wheat. So of course, bread is very important in your diet. Le verdure, the vegetables are important in your diet. So tomatoes, lampascioni, carciofi.
You know about that?
I know all about it. Well, don't forget that my daughter is half Pugliese as well, so I've had to learn that. And from my husband's side of the family. And of course, aside from that, olive groves, le belle di Cerignola, which are the famous olives. See, I have done a bit of research. And that's actually what's going to figure in part of your cuisine today, isn't it?
Yes.
All right, so let's get to the first recipe. What are you going to show us?
Okay, look, what we're going to do as an entree, antipasto, whatever you like. We're going to have a nice bruschetta of pomodoro with the homemade bread. We're going to do the homemade bread.
Yes.
And a tray of cozze.
Le cozze.
Like a salad,
Because of course, le cozze was not something that was part of the life of Borgiani, but it's probably one of the most famous dishes come out of Taranto. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm. Pero, I'm sorry, I mean, 50 years ago, fish wasn't used as it is now.
No.
So now we use plenty of fish. And that's a simple dish.
Yes, it is.
Cozze, ensalada.
Do you know, I was just thinking, when my mother, when my father's mother was still alive, long time ago, Italians used to eat mussels here 40 years ago, and they were really very non-trendy out there, and now it has become the food of restaurants. So we actually pay a lot of money for mussels these days.
Absolutely. We used to go down St. Gilda, open them up, put it in a lemon, and just eat them all.
You can't do that anymore. All right, let's get to this, to the first recipe, which is the making of the beautiful homemade bread.
Okay. What I'm going to show you now is you add a tablespoonful of salt. Make sure that the water is warm and melt it. Make sure it all melts before you add any more water to it. Now also a tablespoonful of dry yeast. Now I use dry yeast. Look, a lot of you people out there, I know that there's a lot of you doing bread, you like to use fresh yeast, but I find it better using this, because the fresh yeast in the fridge for a while, you either got to throw it out or buy a fresh one, but I find this very, very successful. So what you do, you make sure that you melt the yeast in the water, let it rest, at least say 20 minutes until it all melts before you start doing the bread. I like to do it in a pot. You pour your flour in, usually 1.5 kilos for a tablespoon of salt and a tablespoonful of yeast. 1.5 kilos for flour. You pour the water bit by bit and work it with your hand. I put in the yeast after that, make sure that the yeast is well melted. And just move your flour all around. Water slowly. So this is more or less what the dough looks like. I'm just going to add a little bit more water. And you fill it with your hands. You don't want it runny, but it has to be firm enough to work it. And wait till it rises. Now it depends on the weather. In summer, it will only take a good couple of hours. Put it in a warm spot. Sometimes I even put it outside on a table. Now in winter, it'll take longer, unless you put it somewhere warm. This is what it looks like. This has been in here for 2.5 hours. It's well risen. Do you see how you can see the bubbles and all that? That's ready to be done. Now what you do, put your ovens on first. Gas, say about 240, 250. Electric, fan forced, 220. Now your ovens must be on at least for 20 minutes. They've got to be pretty hot. And then what you do, you flour your trays so that the bread will not stick. You see that? Make sure that you've got plenty of flour. This has been here at least 2.5 hours. And here it comes on the floured board. It'll stick. And you can see that it's quite easy. Now this is ready to be made into loaves. Cut my first one. All you do is sort of manipulate it a little bit. Here we go. It's not hard. There. Okay. You do your second. But make sure that you more or less do them the same, so that they're cooked the same at the same time. This one is a little... Now, these go on top. The ovens are ready. What you do now, after about 15 minutes, you sort of can open the door, the oven door, and see how the bread is going. Check the bottom. This needs to be done a little bit more, so turn it the same as the other one, as you can see. Turn it, put it back in, and check it after about, say, 7 or 8 minutes, the most 10 minutes. If you think you've got too much flour on the bread, just get a brush and brush it off. Here we go. Look at the beautiful bread. And I'm going to slice it, and we're going to make a bruschetta for an antipasto with mussels and so on. And this is what the bread looks like inside. Pretty good.